Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen. Can somebody please explain to me why Goblin works as horror movie soundtrack music? I know that it does. It really works really well, but I can't explain why. It's like this weird, out there, robotic disco that would be at home on a Sega Genesis video game or something. But somehow it works, and it works really well in these films. So guys, this week we are reviewing the Dario Argento classic Tenebre, from the master of the Italian Giallo, Dario Argento. So guys, the film was released in 1982, and as such, it does have a little bit of influence from the American slasher films of that era, because that was kind of the height of the slasher boom, you know, in America. So as such, there is a little bit of influence on this film. But at any rate, this is a classic Giallo film through and through, no doubt. So Dario Argento had experimented a little bit for a while with kind of supernatural horror stuff. But Tenebre was him going back to what made him famous, you know. So the film stars Anthony Franciosa in the role of Peter Neal. And so Peter Neal is like this fictional crime novelist. And what happens is these murders are happening all around him, and everyone involved seems to be either a fan of Peter Neal's work or actually know Peter Neal in some way. And the killer seems to be obsessed with his work, obsessed with his novels, especially the one novel that is like his bestseller, the Tenebre. And in the Tenebre book, the killer seems to be hunting down what he feels are sexual deviants or perverts, you know. And that's what this killer is doing in the movie, people that he feels are perverts and sexual deviants. And that's kind of the plot of the film in a nutshell. The film also stars Daria Nicolodi, who was in Deep Red as well, another Argento masterpiece. She plays Anne, Peter's assistant in the film. And the film also stars John Saxon, who we know, of course, from movies like Nightmare on Elm Street, Black Christmas, Enter the Dragon, you know. A legendary actor. So it's really cool and fun to see him in the film, even though his role in the film isn't all that important, so I wonder why they even had him in it. It seemed kind of a waste of his talent in a way, because he really doesn't play that much of an important role in the film, but it's still cool to see him, and he does a fine job. I just wish he had a more important role in the film. But at any rate, it is cool to see John Saxon, because he's such a cool cat, you know. Really cool guy and a really good actor. Okay, so the film starts off with this shoplifter who is a fan of Peter Neal's novel, Tenebre, and she gets caught shoplifting, and it's really funny, like, the owner of the store, like, grabs the girl by the arm, like, is really, like, rough with him, like, that stuff wouldn't fly today, you know. Oh, but anyway, she, like, comes on to the guy, you know, when he goes into her office. She's like, come on, let's make a deal, you know, you can come to my house, you know. And the dude's like, where do you live? You know? Okay, I guess they made a deal. But I guess apparently the killer finds her to be a sexual deviant, a pervert, you know, because she's using her body to get out of this shoplifting charge, you know. And another thing that's interesting about the film is these weird scenarios, these random things happen to these women that they somehow end up in the killer's hand. Like this one girl, the shoplifter, Elsa, she gets chased by this old man, this homeless dude that's trying to like get at her and rape her and stuff. And as she's running away from him, she's now in the hands of the killer. Bam, she gets slashed in the throat by the black glove killer, which is such a classic trait of these Italian Giallo films. You don't ever see the killer. You just see like the black gloves holding the razor or whatever weapon of choice it is. When he's got several weapons in the film, like an axe, and and there's some really brutal kills in this movie. And that's kind of the thing about these Italian Giallo films is the murders are really prolonged and they're really beautifully shot. It's like a work of art, And they're really dramatic. Like you'll see like glass shattering and breaking and mirrors smashing and windows smashing to really add to the dramatic tension of it. And just the way they're filmed, especially by Argento, it's really artfully done, almost like Hitchcock with the Psycho with the shower scene. It's really brilliantly filmed. And that's kind of what separates in a way from the Giallos and the like American slasher. Although this movie does have a little bit of sleaze in it. It's definitely got some gratuitous nudity. Like we meet this lesbian couple, and one of the girls, you see her at the bar and she's like kind of flirting with the other girl, and you straight up see her nipple just hanging out from her dress. It's like, look, nobody says anything like, can you lift your dress up maybe a little? You can show in there, but nobody said. It's never mentioned. It's funny. And then later on, you see this girl just walking around naked, wrapped in a bed sheet. It's definitely gratuitous nudity. The killer strikes on them as well. This lesbian couple, who one of the girls, I believe, was a journalist who was interviewing Peter MacNeil and doesn't like his work. And kind of thinks he's a sexual deviant, but at the same time, I guess the killer considers her to be a pervert, And I love how you hear the killer's voice before the attack. They're like, perverts, filthy perverts. The film is so brilliantly shot. You see a lot of POV shots of, like I said, with the black glove killer, and there's like one chase scene when the killer's chasing this girl, and the camera movement is so brilliant. It's so beautifully shot. That's one thing I love about this film, and several of Argento's film. Just really artfully done, and that's what sets this apart from like random mass slashers, Very artfully done, so brilliantly directed by Dario Argento. So as the film moves along, it's alluded that other people could be the killer, in that classic style, the murder mystery. Because there's this one girl that kind of pops in and out of the movie, this girl Jane, who I guess was the ex-fiance or ex-wife of Peter in the film, and she just kind of pops up here and there, and whenever we see her, like, oh, it's Jane, and then she's gone, she jumps in her car and leaves, and of course it's revealed later on in the film who she is and the connection that she has in the story, and it is a nice twist, and there's several twists and turns in this movie. Just when you think you've got it figured out, oh, it's something totally different. There's some major twists and turns, which I'm not going to give away in this review because I don't want to spoil it. I want you guys to check out Tenebre because it's an excellent example of the classic Italian Giallo, in my opinion. Yeah, some brutal kills. It's got some awesome music by Goblin there. And Goblin had collaborated with Dario Argento on several of the classics like Suspiria and all that's Deep Red. Yeah, awesome music. It's very weird. It's very goth, it's very out there, but somehow it works so well for these types of movies. There's also some really cool imagery, like dream-style sequences where there's flashbacks of this young woman who's like flirting with this group of guys, and she's like getting naked and stuff, but then this one guy who walks up to her and just like slaps her in the face out of nowhere, and they're like, what the hell? So the girl tells these other guys to grab him, and they totally maul him, you know. And the girl sticks her high heels in his mouth and like chokes him out, you know. And then later on you find out that there is a deeper connection, that this person gets their revenge and stabs her in the belly, you know. So yeah, all these pieces start coming together as the movie comes along, and then eventually, of course, you find out who the killer is, you know, the big reveal. It's that classic Giallo style. I love it. I absolutely love it. This is one of the most stylish Giallo films that I've seen. I think it's really well done. It's superbly directed, and it's just an excellent movie. Another thing I forgot to mention is, like I said, some weird random scenarios that somehow these women end up in the hands of the killer. Like this one girl gets chased by a dog, and the dog is absolutely relentless, chasing her all over creation. I'm like, damn, is this a dog killer movie or something? It's like Cujo attacking. The dog is like relentless, following her everywhere, jumping over fences. I'm like, you never see dogs climb like that. This dog just like charges over the fence after. I'm like, oh shit. And the dog brutally mauls the girl. But somehow she manages to get away. But of course, when she does, she's in the killer's lair, you know, and she gets caught by the killer. And yeah, I'll say there's one brutal kill, one axe kill where, bam, the axe goes right through this window, smash, and it goes right into this girl's arm and cuts her arm right off, and she's bleeding, the blood's going all over the wall. It's brutal, like, oh man. Like, God. Yeah, there's some brutal death scenes in this film, and it's pretty damn awesome. So, guys, I highly recommend Dario Argento's Tenebre. It's an awesome Giallo masterpiece from 1982, and just an awesome movie. And thanks, guys, for joining me in the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen. Tune in and stay scared.